Good evening. You're very welcome to another episode of the Women's National League podcast here on finalwhistle.ie with myself, Breifne Earley, and of course, as always, Aaron Clarke, freshly back from Hungary after another great night for the women's national team. Aaron, you're very welcome back to the Emerald Isle.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. Flew back this morning. Had a nice gallivant around Hungary yesterday. Got to see a little bit. Went on a riverboat as well. Been a nice few days. Come back to see tickets on sale ready for the Albania game. Promotions already starting for that. It's been a good few days.
It has been confirmed as it's going to be in Tala. I'm a little bit disappointed by that. I would have liked to have seen them take a bit of a gamble on the Aviva. I suppose the day of the week probably doesn't help, but at the same time, your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be in the Aviva. It looks as though the Hungary game as well is going to be in Tala as well. Correct. One thing I need to correct myself on last week, it's actually not the school holidays. The school holidays are the week after. So it's also going to be a 5:45 kickoff as well. The reason being, and there's been a bit of uproar over this, the League of Ireland fixtures were set last December for the men. And there's a full round of fixtures that weekend. The Nations League draw only happened in May. So I think Shamrock Rovers and Pats potentially is on telly for the men, and Shamrock Rovers could clinch the title. The problem is if Ireland go at 7:45, you're up against that, and then you're it's not really a good look for RTE. It's probably on RTE news now, and it doesn't look good for anybody. So I think the 5:45 kickoff is probably more sensible, as much as it doesn't suit a lot of people. For audiences,
there is a case to be made though that the women's national teams probably attract more fans than, and we're both League of Ireland fans, but it probably would attract more viewership than a League of Ireland title match even.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think from the devil's advocate side of things, it's more of a case that them fixtures were set a long time ago. When I went back and actually had a look at the original fixture list, and on the original fixture list is that game for that date. The Women's Nation League fixtures were sort of announced a lot later because we even had Vera Pauw sort of giving out about the Women's Nation League and stuff like that. So, it's disappointing that it can't be on the Saturday or the Thursday, but I think it's just the fact with the way the international window is. I wouldn't want to see it competing because I don't think it's good for either brand of the League of Ireland, or it's good for the international team to have them both competing. I think this is probably a compromise that RTE said, listen, we want the game slightly earlier. I'll be interested to sort of see, based off numbers, what the numbers from the Hungary game was, because the fact that was a 6:30 kickoff as well. It was earlier. It'd be interesting to see that. But pre-sale seems to be going quite good today. I suspect the game will sell out quite quickly within the period when it goes on general sale on Friday. But just I was having chats with people in the last couple of days, and what was said to me is we were chatting about the Aviva Stadium. So one of the main problems with the Aviva is they have to hit 28,000 paying fans before they make a profit. So we were talking about, if they go to the Aviva, they could make 400 or 500 grand. So realistically, for them to make 400 or 500 grand, they're probably going to have 40 odd thousand paying customers, because it's not cheap, and that was one thing that was said to me. And I would like to see it that we get to a stage that every game is the Aviva. I would like to see that we get to that stage that every game is the Aviva. You look at England, for example, when England first decided to go to bigger stadiums, it was sort of a baby step. I'm sort of hoping that we see that baby step, but we see that step sort of happen a lot more incremental, and it happens a lot more regular. Realistically, I would expect to see at least 2, maybe 3 of the next European qualifiers that are going to be played in 2024 played in the Aviva Stadium. I would expect to see at least 2 or 3 of them played there. That would be a start. And then the other problem is unlike in the likes of the UK or other countries, we don't really have that bridger of a stadium between Tala and the Aviva, unless you're sort of going to go down the route of trying to rent somewhere like the RDS, Thomond Park or something like that. That's the only real alternative. That's what sort of it's a bit of a snooker for. But I do get where you're coming from, and I've seen fans sort of saying, I wanted this in the Aviva. It would have been great to have it in the Aviva.
I think it just sets the tone in terms of equality between the two teams. And yeah, you might have smaller crowds, but that's to be expected. I don't think anyone would mind that. I personally would prefer us to be in the Aviva and just hit that break even of 28,000 as an average. I'd be quite happy with
100%. that. 100%. 100%. I would as well.
We are digressing though from the actual topic at hand, which of course is the game on Tuesday night against Hungary. I think a week ago when we were looking into these two games, we talked about how 6 wins is a must in this division. Saying that and actually delivering it in the style we've done, 2 wins, 2 clean sheets, 7 goals in the plus column, could have been even double that. Let's be honest, the chances we missed through the 2 games. It's a very, very positive start, albeit in that second tier of the UEFA Women's National League.
Listen, I'm grateful. I'm happy we're not in League A, and that's being honest with you. I'm happy we're not, because we're not ready for League A. We need to take that step, and this is where we're like, because as you've said multiple times, we've an aging squad. This is where we have the opportunity to bring these sort of players in. You've been ranting and raving about Izzy Atkinson for a long time. When Izzy come on, I must have tweeted about Izzy about 6 or 7 times within the first 10 minutes of the second half the other day. The amazing run, the amazing run she made, the cross she put in, you know, and these are the sort of opportunities where she got to shine. I always thought Hungary would be the hardest game in the group in terms of Hungary away. To be honest with you, was it perfect? Absolutely not. Defensively, we looked bad at times. We looked leaky at times. And from the conversations I was having with some supporters, and because I thought Megan Connolly had a poor game against Northern Ireland, but it just showed Megan just done a lot of that donkey work, a lot of that things, because she was the one who shored up them gaps to make sure that wasn't happening. I didn't think Tyler had her best game, but then again, she didn't really get much support from Lily Ag either. So I thought the centre midfield, I thought the whole of midfield was poor for Ireland. When I seen the 2 of them being taken off, I wasn't surprised. You look at the game as a whole, Heather Payne was better. I still think you can see she's a little bit off where she needs to be. Hasn't played an awful lot of minutes, and these minutes will probably be valuable for her. I think she'd be a lot better next month. You look at like Katie McCabe took her goal absolutely superbly. It was a
I wasn't quite so convinced myself.
A little bit of an internet breaker, but we're sort of used to that from Katie. I was sort of saying to Katie and Denise when I spoke to them, was like separately. I said, Denise, you'd be fuming if the referee, because you were asking for a free, if the referee gave that free when Katie strikes that ball and hits the top corner, you'd be going mad. But like for me, there's a lot of positives there. There's a lot of things we can see they're trying to do things differently. Like the amount of times that we've seen Ireland actually go on the front foot. Did it work out all the time? Absolutely not. But we actually went to go on the front foot a lot and sort of take the game to Hungary. That was probably the thing that I enjoyed, is the fact that we tried to push on, we tried to do things. Yes, it left us a bit exposed at the back, but it made for a much better Ireland performance. And for me, I know I was a little bit critical of parts of the Northern Ireland game, but I thought that performance against Hungary was a massive step on. I thought it was a step up from what they'd done.
Yeah, I think so. I completely agree. Let's talk about Eileen Gleeson for a moment. We're going to hear from her later on in the program, but let's talk about her, because we both kind of agreed, I think, over the last few weeks and months, that she would do a decent job as an interim manager, but that her role as the head of women's football in the FAI was probably more important in the grander scheme of things. I've probably deviated a little bit from that in the last couple of days. And I think watching the way the team has played, I think she has set them up really well. There's obviously a really positive vibe through the camp. It's black and white. It's night and day between what was happening through the World Cup. Has she put herself in the shop window, maybe for that discussion for a move into that football side of things and let somebody else come in and run the admin side of things?
I don't know, because she still talks about the women's football being her dream job. So I don't know whether that the problem is Eileen is one of these sort of people. She's the complete opposite, polar opposite of Vera. She'll tell you what she wants to tell you. So she's not really giving much away to whether she's actually interested in the job. She might well be, but I don't think she'll get it. But is she putting herself into that shop window? Yeah, I think a lot of people looked upon the last couple of games and said it was, you could see what she was trying to do. I'd expect them to take them. See, the problem is, and I asked Eileen this about who's going to take the game the next game, and she was sort of a bit coy on that. I would expect she is going to be in the dugout the next game, and I would expect to take a step on. And like, she gets 4 wins from 4 out of them four games. She obviously has to come into the conversations, but the FAI is a strange book. You never know what way they're thinking, what way they're looking. Are they going to look at an external? Like, with the fact that the debt has come down massively since the restructuring and things that have gone out from the government bailouts and stuff like that, they might say, okay, let's put our hand in our pocket a little bit because the sponsorships are coming in and things like that, and let's get a really attractive manager in. Or they might turn around and say, okay, Eileen, do this. But the only thing is, if they do go down that Eileen route, they can't have the double jobbing. Like we've seen Sue Ronan doing it, we've seen others doing it. It's one or the other. It doesn't
work. It's too distracting. It's too distracting on both sides, and you need two strong individuals. One looking at what's on the field, and one looking at what's off the field. And you can't do both. As good as a person might be, you just physically can't do both. But I 7 days ago I would have said Eileen should stay where she is in the terms of the full-time contract she has with the FAI. Now I'm not as convinced of that. I think she could easily put her hand on that.
Yep. Couple things on that. I think the management team she's brought in, she's been quite clever with the management team she's brought in. Emma Byrne, like, listen, no disrespect to Emma Byrne, Emma Byrne's a legend, but is Emma Byrne there to actually do much coaching, or is Emma Byrne there to be that link? And if Emma Byrne's there to be that link, that is genius, because Emma Byrne links the players because she knows that a large majority links them. Like, there was even players doing interviews after the game, and Emma sort of popped her head in, and the smiles were there. Bringing Colin Healy in, I don't know if you heard it on the TV, but Colin Healy probably never shut up during the game, giving instructions as well, and sort of, which is great. You could constantly say, and the two of them, himself and Eileen, were sort of constantly giving instructions to players, sort of, come here, do this, do that. Like, it looks as though off the initial phases, the management tick has got off to a good start. Yeah. If they get 2 more wins against Albania in the double header next month, they definitely put themselves in the shop window. There's no doubt about it. And then people are probably going to have that conversation. Like, you're saying you'd mellowed. I've had people text me who were completely no, Eileen, no, who've sort of said they liked it a little bit better. What was happening?
Oh, I'd be in the exact same boat. I would have been a straight no last week, not because of Eileen's ability to do the job, but because of the importance of the other role she's actually occupying. Mm-hmm. I think she's great for that role. Are there more people out there that could do that role as well as she could? Possibly, maybe not. I'm not quite sure. I think the depth of people who could come in from outside and do the on-pitch stuff is probably deeper. Therefore, that's why I would prefer to see her in the off-field stuff. To me, that's always way more important than what happens on the field. That helps the field immensely, probably immeasurably in most people's eyes. However, let's talk about football for a moment. We've talked about Katie's goal. There were some really, really nice moments in that game. There weren't that many negatives. There was a couple of stray passes. Tyler Toland, as we mentioned, player of the game the first day, an inspirational return to the Irish team in some respects on Saturday. It just didn't seem to go right for her on Tuesday. What were your big takeaways, I suppose, the big negatives, the big positives of the game at the weekend, or on Tuesday?
Big positive again, and we sort of spoke about last week, and get that cake out, will you? Get that humble pie out. For me,
have an unending supply of it here coming in.
For me, Caitlin Hayes was another standout. The amount of time she picked it, she actually played a couple. She played a couple of stray passes. The amount of time she picked Denise O'Sullivan out from defence, and sort of when Denise dropped into them pockets. I like the way Denise was trying to get on the ball. She was moving into spaces and areas just to try and create opportunities. Didn't necessarily go away. Katie was roaming an awful lot, which was good. And to see Katie go up top when Izzy come on, for me, Izzy's probably the standout in terms of the individual performance. I thought Izzy was very.
I didn't quite catch that. Could you repeat that again?
I thought Izzy.
With that.
I thought Izzy was very good. The goals, some of the goals, the build up, some of the goals was very nice. Caitlin Hayes took her goal superbly. And again, you look at the free kick from Caitlin. Caitlin Hayes takes it straight in the head. She just takes one step back, and I just tweeted at the time, Caitlin Hayes is a rock. There's a lot of positives. There's not many. The negatives are sort of, there's a lot more to work on, but is it a negative that you have things to work on? Probably not. The sloppy passes is probably the only real thing. Probably should have taken more chances. I probably cut open a few times.
I probably have a couple of negatives, and it's mostly to do with the subs. we saw a lot of the same faces that we've seen over the last few weeks and months in Ireland squads coming off the bench. I would have liked to have seen Hayley Nolan get a chance. I would have liked to have seen Hayley Nolan get a chance. I think she, no more than Izzy Atkinson, I think she's operating at club level at a higher level than some of the girls who are getting regular minutes with the Irish team. If you look at the league table, Palace are at the top of the table. We've got players playing on that side around her position, considerably further down the table in that women's championship in England. That's no slight against them. It's just I'd like to see Nolan get a couple of minutes. I think she has the capability to really impress there. I'd also like to see some of the goalkeepers get some action. Courtney is a solid pair of hands. She's our number one, hands down. But I am beginning to get worried by the number of people and the number of times we don't seem to trust Grace Maloney or Megan Walsh. They're in the squad time after time after time. We need to see them start getting 45 minutes, even if it's against Albania in the second half. If we're 2 or 3-0 up, I think they need to give them one of them a chance.
Yeah, well, the problem is you think they need to. They won't. That's the problem. You look, the last time a different goalkeepers played a goal for Ireland was Russia in February 2022 in the Peamount Cup. Megan Walsh played. It was the last time. Like, even I said it to you pre-World Cup. I love Courtney. I think as a goalkeeper, she's very good. As a person, she's unbelievable. But I would not have played her against Zambia. Knowing you've got a behind closed doors game coming up, I'd have played her against France. Yeah, 100%. I'd have played one of the other two goals. I'd have probably played Sophie Whitehouse and whoever I think is my number 2 goalkeeper. And sort of, Sophie, there's a tryout for you. And my number 2 goalkeeper, there's 45 minutes for you. That's what I would have done. Training games are...
Same applies in the Albania games next time round. I don't
think it'll happen.
No, I don't think it will either. It's something I'd like to see more of. Chloe Mustaki as well is another player I haven't seen at this level enough. And she's in every squad. I'd like to see her just to be able to get a proper measure of where she's at, because it's very easy for girls to come in and sit on the bench and not get time and just be in the squad. And like Saoirse Noonan, we've seen plenty of her in an Ireland jersey. We know what she can deliver. It's probably just a case of biding her time. She's down the pecking order. Can she get up there? That's debatable, but she's in the right.
I was looking at the cap list the other day for when the preview was sent out for the Hungary game. Like, I was looking at the cap list and I was a little bit amazed at some of the things. Like, you look at Grace Maloney 6 caps, Megan Walsh is 1 cap. You go down to, say, Chloe Mustaki, made her debut in 22, 6 caps. Savannah McCarthy made her debut in 2016, she's 11 caps. Hayley Nolan, debut 21, she's 3 caps. Ava O'Mahony made her debut in 2019, 4 caps. Caitlin Hayes will leave out just because she's new. Other players of note, like Tyler's got, I think, 15 caps now. Jamie Finn made her debut in 2019, she's got 15 caps. Izzy made her debut in 2018, she's got 10 caps now. Like, a lot of these players, Emily Whelan, same, 8 caps, made her debut in 2018. A lot of these players, they've been in and around squads for a long time. They don't have a lot of experience, and that backs up your point when you say, like, for so long we were so used to seeing with the likes of Vera that she'd named the same 10 or 11. Eileen made the one change against Hungary. Like, is it a case that if we win the first 4 games, we're almost assured of the top of the group that she may make some changes? I suspect we should see some against Albania, but
I don't think
the problem is it. I don't think we're going to.
No, I don't think so either. I think whoever's in the job, whether it's Eileen or somebody else, for the next 6 months, their target is going to be to win that Nations League, and it's within their grasp. And I think that they won't sacrifice that for the sake of a couple of caps here or there. I'm talking about when you're 2 or 3 or 4-0 up in games in the last 15 minutes and you're making a change. With all due respect to the likes of the girls who came on, we don't need to see what Amber Barrett brings to the table. We don't need to see what Megan Connolly brings, Jamie Finn. We know what these players bring to the table. We've watched them. I know why
Megan was brought on. Megan was brought on to shore things up because there was too many holes. That's why Megan was brought on. I think Jamie was brought on because that was sort of a way of saying, listen, I want to welcome you back in because the fact of what happened with the World Cup, she wasn't selected for the World Cup. That's her first appearance for Ireland in quite a while for Jamie. Jamie's been in squads, but she hasn't been. I think she didn't play in the last 6 games under Vera. Like, she hasn't actually played an awful lot. Like, I do agree with you. I'd like to see a Hayley Nolan play. Like, Hayley Nolan played every minute last season for London City Lionesses in the Championship. Like, there's players like that, and like, what happens? And God forbid it happens. What happens if Courtney Brosnan dives and makes a save? Clatters with someone's ankle breaks her wrist.
Yeah, we're in bother. We don't have experienced cover, even though these girls have been in squads for half a decade. In Grace Maloney's point, to only have, what is it, 7 or 8 caps? You said 6 caps.
6
in the guts of 10 years. Like that's
a problem. 6 years to make her debut.
Yeah, that's a problem. Maybe let's take a bit of a look at some of the chats you had after the game with the girls at the weekend, or sorry, I keep saying the weekend, but on Tuesday evening in Hungary. Let's hear maybe first of all from Heather Payne. You spoke to her just immediately after the game. We'll run a few of these back to back over the next couple of minutes.
After a 4-0 victory against Hungary in Budapest, you had a lot of build up. You were involved in many of the goals today. Talk to us about the game, the performance, and how you feel coming off the pitch.
I think we were quite good at building up, and there was a lot of space on the right for me and Denise to combine. So I think we did a good job of finding Denise in the pocket, and then it was on for me for a slip ball. But happy.
Talk to us about them crosses, because you hit the crossbar once, you set up Kira Caruso. It was as if every time you got the ball in, it looked as though it was going to cause a lot of trouble.
I think 1 or 2 of my crosses could have went a bit better, but I was happy to set up Kira. She made a great run to the front post, so I knew where to put it, and it was good.
For you as a winger, what's it like sort of playing in a slightly different style now with Ireland under Eileen Gleeson compared to Vera Powell? Because it seems as though everything's trying to go forward constantly, and it looks as though the players are having fun.
Yeah, we're up against different opposition, which allows us to attack quite a lot more. So as a wing back, me and Katie are able to go a bit more forward, but also we have to get back at the same time. But it's nice to be able to attack a bit more and have more opportunities going forward.
For you, when you see Kira get on the end of the header, that must be a bit pleasing, especially as you say you weren't happy with some of the other crosses.
Yeah, of course. You want your centre forwards making those front post runs because it makes it easier. I'm always going to aim for there, and then if they make that run, then they can get their head on it. Then it works out brilliantly. So it was a great finish by Kira.
6 points out of 6, 2 clean sheets. Couldn't really ask for any more out of them 2 games, could we?
Definitely. It was a quick turnaround. I think we only had 2 days in between, but I'm glad we came here, and our aim was to get 3 points again, and that's exactly what we did.
For you, being taken off in both games, you seem as though you're just building your minutes up. How much do you think you're going to come on in the next 4 weeks between this camp and the next camp?
Yeah, so just coming from pre-season obviously with Everton, and I'm just kind of building myself up again. I haven't played 90 minutes since the World Cup, so hopefully we've obviously a busy schedule now when we go back to our club, so hopefully I'll get a bit of minutes and then be ready to go again in October.
Are you looking forward to that though, playing at the WSL, and you're going to play some big games and some big stadiums?
Yeah, definitely. We've our first game against Breifne coming this Sunday, so international duty's done now, so I look to that.
Can you has it been, when you're with your club, you haven't played a competitive game, is that difficult coming back into another international duty because it's been pre-season?
Of course. We were together for so long over the summer, it feels like we were just together, so coming back in after just a month and then going straight back into now the season starting, it'll definitely be tricky, but I love coming into camp, and I really enjoyed it.
Another clean sheet, 4 goals. You have to be happy with that.
Of course, what's not to be happy with? 6 points from 2 games, top of the table, 7 goals in total, 2 clean sheets, so really positive.
A much better performance from Saturday as well. Come on an awful lot. A lot of things that we're trying to do on Saturday that maybe didn't come off. Something came off tonight as well.
Yeah, and that's, we've tried to introduce a few new principles, and the girls you saw were trying to bring them in on Saturday, and now they're trying to bring in a bit more. Have we got room for improvement? Absolutely, but are they trying the new things? Yes, and we're really proud of them.
4 different goal scorers as well, must be nice.
It's lovely. We take goals from everywhere, but it is nice with 4 goals from open play. We're still a huge threat from the corner, so we're just trying to add to the game then.
I heard you say before the last game, Caitlin Hayes scored against you. Nice to have her score for you.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody wants to remind me who scores against me, but Caitlin, she's a real threat on set pieces, and she's a real asset then in defending set pieces. But great for her to get her debut goal as well today.
A lovely strike from Katie. As well. It seems to have nearly broke the internet again. She's a habit doing that.
She does, and we can take more of them as well.
In terms of the overall performance, Were you happy at the break? Because it seemed as though a couple of things we've seen your assistant get up quite a few times to give instructions. Were you happy at the break? Because the second half seemed they stepped on the gear and off it.
Yeah, we were in a good position. We went in 2-0 up. But could we be better? Yes, and that's the message that we gave to the players, and we just tightened up on a little bit of detail. And then they came out. Thought Izzy Atkinson came on, and she had an impact then driving forward, and she got some great crosses into the box. So that helped us create more chances and allow a bit more freedom. We pushed Katie inside. So a couple of changes, and felt the gear stepped up then for the first half and the second half.
It's a short turnaround to the next camp. Have the FA given any instructions to whether you'll be taking the team again for the next camp, because it's only a couple of weeks away?
Well, I don't have any instructions or conversations to report on. All we can say is whether I'm in or whether somebody new is in, is that the team will be prepared for Albania, and that has already started that preparation.
Eileen being fairly coy about her future with the squad, at least. She'll definitely be with the FAI, but it's an interesting topic. We've talked about it at length on the show already. We're not going to go over that ground, but let's cast our eye forward towards the next group of games. We play Albania home and away in the end of October. It's only really 4 weeks away. All the girls come back to their clubs. Started the WSL this weekend, where a lot of our players will see action.
Can I make you a bit jealous?
Are you going to a game, aren't you?
I'm going to 2 games.
Always one.
I'm going to Arsenal Liverpool in the Emirates at 2:00 on Sunday, and then I'm straight across to Stamford Bridge for the 5:30 kickoff, and then fly back to Dublin for after Chelsea and Spurs.
Very nice. Talk to me about the actual the Ireland chances in the next 2 games. Albania are probably the weakest side in the group. You would expect us to come through that fairly as easily as we did in Hungary. Effectively, you expect the game to be something similar in terms of possession, chances, Ireland's hopes of winning?
To be honest with you, with the game being in Tala, I think there's less pressure on the side as well, the first one. And really, the thing with this sort of game is, and it's a bit of a problem as well, because Ireland could score 1 or 2 goals early, then Albania is going to throw 10 behind the ball, 7 in defence, and sort of make it really difficult for Ireland, and it'll become a case of Ireland have to break them down. The one thing that this group and these sort of games are doing for Ireland is they're making Ireland having to dictate the pace, dictate the tempo of the games, and I think that's good for them. I think the next 2 games they're going to be very important. If fit, I would expect Jessie Stapleton to go back into the squad. For me, the big question remains if Sinead Farrelly comes back in. I think Sinead Farrelly, and we spoke about it, would be great. Would be a great player to have in these sort of games. I think she would offer so much more in the attacking role. It would, realistically, do we really need to have 2 players sitting against Albania? I'd love to see Denise and Sinead sort of tag teaming further forward. What is success when it comes to these games? Obviously, 6 points is success, but
I think clean sheets are a success measure as well. You know, I think what we did in the last 7 days is an A+ in terms of performance.
I don't agree.
In terms of results, in terms of results, absolutely. In terms of performance, I'd say Northern Ireland was probably be hard to say more. It's hard to say hard than a B-. I thought the Hungary game was definitely maybe a step up. No, but the only thing, and that's being honest, because Breifne, realistically, we should have scored 7 or 8 against Northern Ireland. Probably should have scored more against Hungary. But I was happy to see the improvements I was happy to see the sort of go forward, to continue to, when things didn't go well or they made a mistake, they continued to go, they continued to try. The thing is, and I fully expect the next camp to take a massive step on again. And there's because you have to realise Katie hasn't played a lot of minutes, Hedda hasn't played a lot of minutes. I know Courtney's played some. Other players haven't played an awful lot of minutes as well for their clubs, and they'll go back. They'll have 4 weeks. Everybody stays fit. If everybody stays fit and comes back in, they'll be a lot sharper. They'll be a lot further forward, and then I think it'll be a massive step on again. And there's no reason why, if Ireland click, that Ireland can't score 7 or 8 goals against Albania and give the fans a night to remember in Tala, and then going away from home could do something similar. In this group, we talk about 6 wins out of 6 are a must. Realistically, 6 clean sheets out of this group is a well attainable as well. And scoring 20 odds, say an average of 3 or 4 goals a game. To be honest with you, I don't really class goals as a result. I think we just need to look at the performances. If every performance takes a step on, the fans will be happy. We see a lot of people tweeting in the last couple of days about
Where are these naysayers who were tweeting in the week before when Diane done the media? And like, we see some high profile people tweeting saying that, and now, like, where are these people who are giving out? Because realistically, you have to be very happy with the last week. Absolutely, 100%.
Let's turn our attention back towards the domestic game, of course, because after what feels like forever, we're back playing a bit of football here in Ireland.
Can't wait.
At club level, we've got a full series of fixtures. I don't know how I'm showing the results from last weekend. These are the fixtures going across the bottom of the table. DLR Waves, they host Shells at 4 p.m. Athlone take the journey down to Cork at 5 p.m. Sligo Rovers host Bows in the reverse of their cup surprise a couple of weeks ago. That's 5 p.m. in the showgrounds, while Treaty United and Galway also at 5 p.m. down in the Markets Field. And then live on TG Car at 7:35, Wexford Youths versus Shamrock Rovers in what is probably a crunch game for Shamrock Rovers' title hopes. Aaron.
Massive game. Wexford Youths come into the back of it, sort of. They've won the last.
I'm going to cut across you. Before we get into the actual analysis of the game, let's just explain where we are in terms of the actual league table at the moment. There it is from our website. Peamount, 9 points clear of Shamrock Rovers and Shells. There's 20 games to play. Peas are idle this week. So Shells and Shamrock Rovers, both away, have a chance to close that gap from 9 to 6 with 4 games remaining. So even if they win this week, it still leaves them with a massive challenge. Now, let's talk about the actual football and the chances of them delivering 3 points this weekend.
Just when we're talking about chances, I was chatting to James O'Callaghan after the game and after the other game, and like, you can still see after the Ireland game, and you can still see that they know they've still got to get results, and that's the thing. I think they're not even taking for granted that the other teams are chasing them.
Microphone there, if you don't mind. Yep, cheers.
The other teams, they know the other teams are chasing them, but they still know that they need to get results, and I think that's as important. You'll kill me for saying this, but we were in the same position in 2020 when they literally needed a win out of the last 3 games to clinch the league. They couldn't get over the line. This Peamount side is a much better side. I would suspect that they will, but if you look at this weekend's fixtures, I think the Mount Warren tie has to be the Wexford and Shamrock Rovers game. You look at the consequences of it. Wexford's poor start to the season. Since the drubbing at Shelbourne, they've been very good in the league. They've won the last 3 league games. Like, they're gonna be confident down there. Ella Malloy, I suspect, will play even more minutes this weekend than she has. Is it a case that after the back of the international break that they may start Ella Malloy? They may play Ella Malloy for 60 minutes. Add an awful lot to them. But Rovers have strengthened as well during the break. Like,
Joy Ralph has been impressive since she's come in, really.
Joy Ralph, Scarlett Heron, like, 2 unbelievable players. And the funny part about Joy Ralph is, and I'm sure you're gonna go and check your website now as soon as I say this. Like, if you look at the minutes that Joy Ralph played in the first half of the season, I can't remember playing very many minutes this first half of the season for DLR Waves. She wasn't even in the squad a lot of the time either. And then she started coming to Rovers, and like, we had the conversation that I said to you that I thought she'd probably struggle to start games. She comes in, gets an opportunity, scores a couple of goals, gets another opportunity, scores again. Like, she's just impressing Collie O'Neill constantly, and like, she's somebody who she's somebody who any of the other teams would have loved to have.
Yeah,
she's going to cry now for a goal scorer like that.
She started for DLR in the first half of the season. Bear in mind, it's slightly over the half. She played about half of DLR's games.
A lot of them are early. A lot of them would have been early.
Yeah, and 471 minutes, only 1 goal. She's already got 1 goal in a quarter of the time at Shamrock Rovers. But I think she's been more impressive, maybe a bit more positive football in terms of the way Shamrock Rovers play versus the way DLR play.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, we sort of said the Rovers needed strength, and like, you look at in the middle, Scarlett Heron, I think she could have a big impact on this game this weekend. Maria Reynolds continues to make her step up, having coming back from injury, but hasn't played in the National League yet, so she's someone else who could feature for them. Like, it's an evenly balanced game. When the two sides played in Tala early in the season, it was a 2-1 win for Shamrock Rovers, and like, you looked at that day, you probably said Wexford in the final third were just struggling. Like, live on TG Car, I think Wexford have a point to prove. I think Wexford will be determined to try and have some sort of say in this league. Like, they still have to play Shamrock Rovers and Peamount. So like, for Wexford, they want 4th. That's what they want. and it's now really attainable for them. So I think it'll be a humdinger of an encounter, and I'll be sitting down with the feet up on Saturday evening watching TG Carr. I mean, like, I can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. Okay, that's that one out of the way. Let's look at the other fixtures around the grounds. We do have a question in, just when we want to talk about Cork and Athlone. We do have a question in from one of the viewers, and let me just turn off the fixtures there for a second. But he asks us, it's Sean Tobin, and he's asked, what do we make of Cork having a home WPD game on at the exact same time as a men's match? And their women play Treaty at home the same evening their men play UCD. Your thoughts?
No disrespect to Cork versus UCD, but that game is really. I know Cork are fighting to. I'd say Cork are by that stage. Cork will be nearly assured of the playoff. I think it's a nice touch for people who can't travel. It was going to be played on the Wednesday evening. They may think that the Friday evening may get a couple of more fans than I might have got on the Wednesday evening. The problem is Cork is all over the place, men's and women's. Things aren't going great on either side this year. Is it something to sort of say, how can we sort of get people back together? Let's try have the women on a Friday night and see. Like, we've seen Bows have done it before, played on a Friday night against DLR. Like, competing against the men's game, it's the same. It goes back to the same thing that I said to you earlier about the Ireland game. You never really want to compete about it, but I'd love to know why it was switched. I think it's a good idea for people who can't travel or who may decide they don't want to watch. They want to go and watch a live game of football instead. Will it affect the crowds? I don't think it will, because there's not an awful lot of Cork City fans who may do both unless it's a big occasion, like a big cup one. There'll be certainly some media, like I know the Three Amigos tend to cover a lot of both and things like that, like where they may find themselves in Dublin. It may take away a little bit from their coverage, but like, it's great. It's a great idea, but
it's a nice game as well from a Cork City point of view, because it's against Treaty, who are in that lower half of the table. You have a realistic chance of a good performance, realistic chance of a good result. And on a traditional Friday night game, when I believe, I could be stand corrected here, but I believe season tickets work for both. So you could end up with people who are just in the habit of going on a Friday night to Turner's Cross for a Cork City game going, well, I'm not going to go up to watch UCD. I'll go to the Cross instead, and it'll feel like I'm at the game. We'll get the updates from the PA or from our apps or whatever on our phone. So you'll get that opportunity to kind of be at a women's game and maybe promote the women's game as a good alternative for an entertaining night out.
That's where I think it might work. That's where I think it might work. And the other side of things is, like, the Wednesday night might have been feasible. So it was either that or else going a different Wednesday some other stage, and they thought that it was a decent option. It'll be one we'll definitely watch, and we'll see if they get a crowd or what happens from it. But like, the thing is, clubs need to try things. If it doesn't work, they won't try it again. But they need to try things and need to sort of see if it works or how it goes about.
Yeah, no, the only thing is, Sean, that might not have been the answer you were hoping we'd give you. So apologies if we don't agree with your point of view on that. But I suppose
see both sides of it.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. And there are people who want to be at both, but I think it's about you. I think if you look at the crowd that was at the Women's Senior International at the weekend in the Aviva and the normal crowd for a men's international in the Aviva, it's a limited outside of the press box and maybe some of the I suppose the sponsors and supporters boxes and the officials from the FAI. It's a very different crowd.
We've seen it happen with other women's clubs before. Like, we've seen it happen several times where Bows have played on a Saturday evening last year, and when Bows were playing late and Bows men were away at the same time, we've seen it happen. Like, it is part and parcel of it. It's just the problem is we don't know the reason why it has exactly been moved to the Friday. I think it might work out for a bit of a crowd on the Friday night. As you say, people be like, you know what, I'll go to the Cross, I'll have a pint at the pub outside, on the corner there, and I'll go to it. You might get a few that may not have gone to it.
This weekend, they face Athlone Town. Your thoughts on that game? Athlone Town seem to be picking up a bit of form in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I'd fancy Athlone to be comfortable enough winners in it. I think you're right. Athlone are hitting that stride, and they start building into that cup game, and they're going to want to avoid the Breifne curse, as you say. Another nil-all penalty shooting and getting win. Well, it's not as a court, the nil-all.
They'll take it. It's not a curse if they're winning. It's not a curse if they're winning.
Listen, people probably getting sick of me saying this, but like, you have to give the management and the players an awful lot of credit. The season could have filtered away and been an absolute catastrophe when Tommy had stepped away, but they've brought in some good players. Dana Sheriff staying fifth for them has been really positive. Maddie Gibson is still Maddie Gibson, and you know she's unbelievable for them. And but I think the sign of Kay Keane has probably been instrumental. And like I said to you at the start of the year, I thought she should have been in goal for Shelbourne. Yeah, I'd said it multiple times.
It's been a weakness in recent seasons, that goalkeeper position.
Where I think
nail it down.
I think Athlone definitely getting the benefit of having Kate there. And listen, you'd say Athlone should win. For Cork, the problem is Cork are just trying to develop players. They're trying to push on. Like, every game is a really difficult game for Cork, and that's where it becomes hard, because you take beatings or you take losses. And like, every time I spoke to Danny always tries to remain positive. He sees the bigger picture. I sort of hope with some of the youngsters that they do have, that the club stand behind them. Like, I was chatting to somebody the other day, and they were sort of saying to me, Ellie O'Brien was like 19. They were saying to me, and I was like, no, Ellie O'Brien was playing the Ireland on the 19th the other day. And sort of when you explain how young some of the players they have, like Eve Mangan's only turned, I think she's only turned 19. Like, a lot of the players are really, really, really young, and they're sort of in a position maybe where Athlone were a couple of years ago when Athlone first came into the league, that players hadn't got a lot of experience. Whereas if they can keep that core group together, there's no doubt they can take a step forward. But it's just a case of, will the club continue to support Danny in the long term to actually allow them to take that step forward? Because if not, they may lose some of them players, and then they're back to square one again. And like, we need a really strong Cork for the league to be vibrant. We need a real strong Cork, because it's a massive bed hole of women's football.
Absolutely. DLR Waves and Shells Dublin Derby in the UCD Bowl at 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. This might have been more competitive in recent seasons. Can you see anything but a Shells victory in this?
This is where I'll be more than likely on Saturday myself. To be honest with you, no. I think DLR really had the chance in the cup. The cup game, they should have taken something over. Shells were leggy. They didn't look as though they had been previously. So I find it very difficult that they're going to get anything out of it. Like, for DLR, like, it's like Cork. It's turned into a really, really frustrating season. But when you chat to Laura and you sort of you discuss things with her, like, she'd be the first to say they're making mistakes that maybe they shouldn't be making. And like, when you've got a lot of young kids, these things are going to happen. Like, the problem is as well, you get gutted for the last couple of transfer windows. Your best players are gone. I suspect Shells will win this probably 2-3-0, but I'd like to see DLR being competitive. I still think Eve Van Daan has been their standout player by a mile this year.
Sligo Rovers Bows, of course, I predicted heavily for Bows in the Cup quarter-final. Got egg on my face, as usual, when I predict results on this show. Sligo Rovers at home. Bows probably still going to this as favourites, but as we know from Sligo, anything's possible when they look like they're down and out. They're probably the most dangerous.
Do you know what? I don't even want to call this game, because I know I'll get in trouble if I say what I'm going to say. But I actually have a feeling Sligo are getting something out of this game again. The way Bows have been since the break,
they're slacking. Aren't they?
Yeah, and I just think, I know I get on well. I know the lads very well, but I just think this is a game that Sligo could get something out of it. Maybe they'll put the quote up on the wall, because most of them know me saying that. But I just think it's a sort of game where first half of the season you'd say no, Bows are going to win it, but I just struggle to see where the goals are going to come from Bows, and if they fall behind, it'll be really difficult. And I wouldn't be surprised if Sligo gets something out of this game.
Yeah, final game then, Treaty. They face Galway United. Hard to call this one as well. Galway have been on a decent run of form, of course, since they've won the Avenir Sports Cup. It's been a nice run for them. Treaty, it's a good season, albeit still in the bottom section of the league. Can they nab something here in the Markets Field, or are Galway just likely to be too strong?
Galway probably are likely to be too strong in the game, but you'd like to say that Treaty are going to be competitive. When they met earlier in the season, I think it was 2-1 or 1-0 to Galway. It was a really close game. I suspect that maybe something similar. I can't see Treaty being blown out the water and being beaten 5-6-0. I can't see that at all. I think they will be really competitive. Listen, we probably didn't see them getting a result against Wexford in the Markets Field either. They ran Peamount very close in the FAI Cup in the Markets Field. They ran a lot of teams quite close. So it's the sort of place where you wouldn't say a result is impossible. It's probably highly unlikely, but it's not impossible if they can show the sort of performance they showed against Peamount or they showed against Wexford in the season. The only one thing I would ask, I haven't seen it yet, is Sarah Power and obviously getting sent off, if what sort of suspension has been put in place there, because she's been someone who's done well for them since coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Final game, we have talked about it already. So in a word, Wexford or Rovers? Or draw?
Draw, or else Rihanna Jarrett to score an injury time winner.
Oh wow, you're not giving Rovers a hope at all down there.
I just have a feeling, but then again, I have a feeling that'll happen. They could beat Shells next week, and Peamount drop points to Wexford, and we've a grandstand finish.
So you are predicting a grandstand finish. I don't think Peamount are going to drop points. I think they've learned their lesson from the last couple of seasons, and I think they have a point to prove against all of us. I think the biggest serving of humble pie we've ever eaten, and that's saying something on this show, is going to be served up to us at the end of the year by Peamount.
I don't know because
part of the year,
for you definitely.
Yeah.
For you definitely, but like from when I seen them and speaking to people in pre-season, I was like, okay, I thought they'd be decent, but I will 100% say I never thought they'd be title contenders. I thought they'd be decent. Like I predicted at the start of the season that Wexford would win the title with that squad that they had, but how things haven't worked out. But like just the desire and hunger in that Peamount team for me is something that I really like this year. The fact that they look like they're fitter than ever. They're going to the very last second. Like they've got late goals in big games, where last year they probably lose the game, or else they struggled to draw the game, where they're getting the 3 points this year. And I think that's been the biggest difference.
Final action of the show, of course, is the return of the WSL this weekend. Quick one for you. Who has been the signing of the WSL from an Irish point of view over the course of the season, or the pre-season so far? Here's a list of some of the players, just so you can kind of have a look at whoever you might think might be of interest to you.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think Jessie Stapleton could be the signing of the window, going to West Ham if she can stay fit. But rather than the signing of the season, the player I'm most looking forward to seeing, if she can get back to her best, is Jess Sue, because we didn't see an awful lot of Jess last year. We sort of wondered what she struggled with West Ham, and I'm really interested to see what she does this year. If she can stay fit and healthy, I think she could play a lot of minutes for West Ham.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Izzy Atkinson and Heather Payne bring to the equation, as well as looking at a bit of Chloe Mustaki at a decent level as well. I think interesting to see what they can bring to the table over the next couple of weeks. Of course, plenty of action across the WSL Championship, all of that international stuff, the NWSL as well, coming to a close. 3 games left in that competition. A couple of Irish girls featuring there for them as well. But that's it for this week. Aaron, thank you very much for joining me. We'll be back next week. Only one show next week, seeing as we're back to some sort of a normal domestic schedule. We'll be back next week with another show talking about this weekend's fixtures and, of course, previewing the following week. You can get all the information, all the leagues, all the international action on finalwhistle.ie, and, of course, check out the WNL Show as well for all Aaron's content on women's football over the course of the next week or so. We'll talk to you then. Be back to you in about 7 days. Talk to you then.